Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UEES Discovery, watching as massive alien vessels materialized across his screens. Each ship dwarfed humanity's greatest constructs, 3 times larger than anything Earth had ever engineered. Their dark metallic hulls shimmered with eerie blue lights that pulsed like beating hearts. Jake had charted this sector for 2 years, yet nothing he'd seen compared to this. "Sir, they're hailing us," Lieutenant Amy Parker reported from communications. Her voice held steady, but Jake caught the strain beneath it. The bridge fell silent. Every officer understood this moment would alter humanity's fate. Jake straightened his uniform, giving a single nod. "Put them through." The main screen flickered alive, revealing a towering alien figure. Nearly 8 feet tall, its skin was pale gray, its frame supported by 4 arms, and its eyes were vast pools of solid black. When it spoke, the translation system delivered, the words in a cold, mechanical tone. "I am High Commander Vexar of the Zephyrian Alliance. You represent the species that calls itself human. Prepare to receive our diplomatic vessel. Resistance will bring immediate destruction." The transmission cut before Jake could respond. He glanced at his crew. Parker was already scanning the fleet. Navigation Officer Chris Wong quietly calculated escape routes, though they all knew the alien ships were faster. At Science, Dr. Elena Vasquez recorded every detail with her instruments. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 47 confirmed, Parker replied. "But the sensors show interference. There could be more." Jake made his decision swiftly. "Send our reply. Tell them we welcome diplomatic contact and will receive their vessel." 2 hours later, Jake was aboard the largest ship he had ever set foot in. Its corridors stretched impossibly wide, shrouded in a blue mist that made breathing uneasy. The very walls seemed alive, shifting and flowing like liquid metal. At his side walked Admiral Lisa Rodriguez of Earth's Diplomatic Corps, a hardened woman seasoned in first contact scenarios, though never one like this. They were led into a colossal chamber where High Commander Vexar awaited. In person, the alien's presence was even more overwhelming. Behind him stood dozens of other beings, creatures of scales, fur, and insect-like armor. Jake realized at once this was no single race, but an entire alliance gathered as one. Other beings crowded the chamber, some resembling towering insects, others cloaked in scales or fur. Jake realized this was not one race, but many, bound together under a single banner. "Humans," Vexar began, his voice reverberating through the vast hall. "We are the Zerian Alliance. We control this sector and 12 more. For 3 millennia, we have brought order to chaos, raising primitive worlds into civilization." Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward, her tone formal. "We are honored by this meeting. Humanity desires peaceful relations with all intelligent species." Vexar's unblinking black eyes fixed on her. "Peace is achieved through order. Now you will hear the terms by which your species shall join our alliance." Jake felt his stomach twist. This was no negotiation. It was a declaration. "First," Vexar intoned, "humanity will abandon all colonies beyond its home system. These territories will be redistributed to more advanced members. Second, your military will be reduced to planetary security only. All weapons of space combat will be surrendered. Third, your technological progress will be overseen by Alliance supervisors. You will not develop faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, or planetary defenses. Fourth, 20% of your population will serve as labor within Alliance industries. Fifth, your leaders will be advised by governors to ensure compliance." The chamber stilled. Jake could hear the pounding of his own heart. Rodriguez kept her expression calm, though her fists clenched tightly at her sides. "These terms are non-negotiable," Vexar added. "Every species accepts them. In return, you gain protection, limited technology sharing, and entry into galactic civilization." Dr. Elena Vasquez, silent until now, continued running covert scans. The foremost expert on alien biology and technology, her frown betrayed concern at her readings. Rodriguez answered with careful diplomacy. These are significant conditions. We must consult our government. How much time are we granted? 48 hours, Vexar replied. More than most require. The advantages of alliance are usually obvious. And if we refuse? Jake asked, though he already sensed the outcome. No species has ever refused, Vexar said flatly. The alternative is extinction. Our weapons crack planets. Our shields repel any attack. Our ships traverse light years while yours crawl. Resistance is illogical. Escorted back, Jake observed the alien crew. They looked weary. Their advanced equipment bore marks of age and strain. Vasquez quietly logged everything with hidden sensors. Aboard the Discovery, Jake convened his senior staff. Rodriguez joined, via secure link to Earth. Well, Jake asked, what did we learn? Vasquez spoke first. Their technology surpasses ours, but their power systems strain under constant load. Either they're at maximum capacity or concealing inefficiencies. Their crews seemed exhausted, Parker added, and their gear looked old. Not what I expected from a civilization so advanced, Rodriguez's voice crackled through. I'm briefing the President and Global Defense Council now, but tell me, if this becomes war, do we have any chance? Jake studied his officers. Brave, explorers who had accepted the risks of the unknown, yet this was beyond anything they had imagined. Truthfully, he said, their speed and firepower outclass us. In a direct fight, we'd fall fast. But Vexar said no species has ever refused. Perhaps no one has ever fought them in ways they don't expect. Vasquez nodded. I've studied their social cues. They're an empire grown complacent. Submission is all they know. Real resistance may catch them unprepared. Rodriguez was silent a long moment. I'll relay this to Earth. Jake, keep the Discovery in position, but be ready to run. We'll decide in 48 hours. When the channel closed, Jake stared at the alien fleet beyond the windows. Somewhere on Earth, the gravest decision in human history was unfolding. Would humanity choose servitude for survival, or the perilous freedom of defiance? Vasquez pressed on with her scans, searching for weaknesses. She was certain that within 2 days, everything would change forever. Deep beneath Geneva, President Charles Hamilton sat at the head of the Global Defense Council's war room. Designed to endure nuclear strikes, it now faced a challenge beyond imagination, the survival of humanity against alien power. Around him sat Earth's leaders, every face marked with dread. Admiral Rodriguez had just concluded her report on the Xerian alliance. The Mayad alien, the ultimatum lingered like a death sentence, 48 hours to choose between slavery and extinction. President Charles Hamilton had led for 6 years, facing crises both political and global, but nothing approached this. Let me be certain I understand, said Secretary of Defense Ryan Cooper, leaning forward. They demand we abandon half our territory, dismantle our military, surrender control of our technology, and send 20% of our people into forced labor. In return, they promise not to annihilate us. That is correct, Admiral Rodriguez confirmed from the Discovery via secure link. High Commander Vexar stated the terms are final. Every other species has accepted them. General Patricia Wells, commander of Earth's United Military, shook her head grimly. Our analysis is clear. We have 300 ships total. They have nearly 50 just in the fleet we see. Their weapons fracture planets. Our strongest cannons barely scratch their hulls. If we fight, we lose. Dr. Paul Mitchell of the Advanced Research Division lifted a hand. Permission to present. Dr. Vasquez's findings? Hamilton nodded. The holographic table flickered to life, showing images Vasquez had recorded aboard the alien vessel. First, Mitchell began, their technology is superior, but heavily worn. Second, Their power grids operate at maximum strain, suggesting hidden limitations. Third, their crews appear exhausted, their equipment in need of service. Hamilton asked quietly, "What does that mean for us?" Mitchell allowed a thin smile. "It means their empire may not be as invincible as it pretends. Dr. Vasquez believes they depend on conquered peoples for innovation. They haven't faced new challenges for centuries. Their progress is stagnant." Cooper shook his head. "Even weakened, they outgun us. Resistance would be suicide." "Would it?" said Captain Susan Clark of the Colonial Marines. Small. In stature but commanding in presence, she spoke with fire. "Has humanity ever triumphed through superior weapons? We defeated the British Empire with farmers and muskets. We won World War II with resolve and ingenuity, not superior arsenals." General Wells frowned. "This isn't history, Susan. These are aliens wielding weapons we can scarcely comprehend." "That's my point," Clark countered. "Every time we've faced impossible odds, we won by refusing to fight the way our enemies expected. The British assumed European battle lines. The Nazis assumed lightning war. Perhaps these aliens assume instant submission because that's all they've ever encountered." Hamilton listened as debate raged. Some urged acceptance, arguing survival under alien rule was preferable to annihilation. Others demanded resistance, despite hopeless odds. Reports from Earth painted a divided world, protests erupting in cities demanding war, vigils held in others praying for peace. Global communication channels overflowed with voices, every human on Earth aware this choice would shape not. Humanity's fate hung in the balance. If they surrendered now, they would live as slaves. If they resisted, future generations might never forgive the cost. As the deadline loomed, President Hamilton made his choice. He contacted Admiral Rodriguez and instructed her to open a direct channel to the alien fleet. The entire Global Defense Council watched in silence as the main screen displayed High Commander Vexar, waiting for humanity's reply. "High Commander," Hamilton began, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision, "we have considered your proposal carefully." Vexar's endless black eyes betrayed no hint of reaction. "What is your decision?" he asked flatly. Hamilton inhaled deeply. Around the table, leaders leaned forward, holding their breath. Across Earth, billions of people braced for the words that would seal their destiny. "We respectfully decline your offer," Hamilton said firmly. "Humanity chooses freedom." Vexar's expression remained unchanged, but the silence before his answer felt suffocating. "Then you choose annihilation. You have 72 hours to evacuate your frontier colonies before cleansing begins. This discussion is over." The screen went black. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Secretary Cooper whispered, "God, help us. What have we done?" General Wells was already on her console. "Evacuate all outer colonies. Prepare every defense we can muster. If we fight with everything." Captain Clark rose. "General, request permission to deploy Colonial Marines to defensive posts across the system." "Granted," Wells replied. "All forces to full alert." Hamilton sat still as chaos erupted. Officers coordinated evacuations and defense strategies. Scientists rushed to analyze the alien data Dr. Vasquez had collected. Diplomats contacted every colony, spreading the warning. In 72 hours, the galaxy's strongest empire would come to erase humanity. Yet for the first time in 3 millennia, they would face a species unwilling to kneel. Hamilton looked at his determined advisors and felt an emotion he had not expected: hope. Humanity had chosen the harder path, but it was theirs to walk. Now they would prove whether freedom was worth any cost, even against impossible odds. Vexar assumed the humans would break within hours. Every species in history had. The demonstration at Kepler 442b would remind them of their place. The small mining station circled a dead world at humanity's edge. 300 workers lived there, harvesting metals for Earth. When the Zephyrian fleet appeared, the miners surrendered instantly, broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy. Vexar ignored them. The message had to be absolute. A single pulse from his flagship vaporized the station, turning it into radiant plasma. The blast could be seen across 3-star systems. As intended, the destruction was broadcast through human networks. Vexar waited for the calls to beg, the offers to submit, the pleading for survival. But something unforeseen occurred. Instead of surrender, the humans accelerated their evacuations. Major Kevin Brady oversaw Titan colony's escape, the next target on Vexar's list. With 50,000 residents and humanity's primary research hub for deep space, Titan was the jewel of the outer colonies. Brady had been given 72 hours to evacuate the colony, but he knew the enemy might not grant them that long. "How many transports do we have?" he asked his communications officer. 16 heavy freighters and 34 smaller ships, Lieutenant Nicole Stevens replied. At full capacity, 40,000 people can be lifted in the first wave. Brady's jaw tightened. That meant 10,000 would be left for a second run, and there might be no second chance. Then came the stranger orders. Dr. Paul Mitchell of Earth's Advanced Research Division had sent instructions alongside. "The evacuation command." "Sir," Engineer Julie Adams reported as she approached the command post, tablet in hand. "I've received the specifications Dr. Mitchell transmitted. Are you certain we should do this?" Brady scanned the data. Mitchell wanted the IU colony's fusion reactors altered in a very precise, very dangerous way. The modifications would leave them unstable. A single error could wipe out the colony before the aliens ever arrived. "Mitchell says this is our only chance to learn something about their defenses," Brady said at last. "We follow his orders." Julie nodded, grim, and returned to her team. For the next 60 hours, she and her engineers rewired the reactors into a new configuration, feeding power through the grid exactly as Mitchell required. If his calculations were right, the array could be triggered to unleash an energy surge that mimicked a miniature supernova. 12 hours before the enemy's scheduled arrival, Captain Jake Morrison received his own orders. He was to take the Discovery and conceal it in the asteroid belt near Titan Colony. Admiral Rodriguez had scraped together 20 ships to accompany him, barely a fraction of the Zephyrian armada. Morrison knew it was never meant to be a fair fight. "Are all ships in position?" he asked from the command chair. "Confirmed," Lieutenant Amy Parker replied. 19 vessels hidden across the field. "Unless they scan deep, the aliens won't see us." Morrison watched as the last evacuation transports cleared Titan. From orbit, the colony looked lifeless, abandoned. Only Major Brady and a handful of volunteers remained behind to trigger Mitchell's trap. Right on schedule, the Zephyrian fleet arrived. 12 vast warships tore out of faster-than-light transit and advanced on the empty colony. Vexar's flagship led the line, weapons already primed to annihilate yet another human settlement. "They're scanning," Brady reported over a secure channel. "Energy buildup in their main batteries." "Hold until my signal," Morrison ordered. Mitchell said the timing has to be perfect. On the alien flagship, Weapons Officer Sextan delivered his report. "Colony appears vacant, High Commander. No life detected." "Excellent," Vexar replied. "At last the humans show wisdom. Erase the facility, then on to the next target." The fleet tightened formation around the colony, shields raised to maximum. They wanted the destruction absolute and witnessed. "Now," Morrison whispered. Brady's team activated the altered reactors. The detonation was unlike anything seen in human-controlled space. The chain reaction burst outward with the fury of a stellar flare, flooding the system with radiation and electromagnetic fire. The Zephyrian ships were caught unprepared. Their shields, built to repel directed energy and kinetic strikes, collapsed under the raw pulse. For 47 seconds, their defenses went dark. That was enough. Morrison's hidden fleet surged from the asteroid belt. They did not attempt to duel alien firepower. Instead, they unleashed a storm of improvised weapons, thousands of titanium rods, hurled at impossible velocity by converted mining launchers, Zephyrian sensors tuned to energy weapons and plasma. Signatures never registered the inert metal until it was too late. The rods smashed into 3 cruisers before their shields reinitialized, spearing through armored hulls like bullets through glass. Paper. Atmosphere vented from the ruptured vessels as panicked crews rushed to emergency stations. One cruiser went completely dark, drifting powerless through the void. Another recovered partial systems, but its engines were useless. Impossible. Vexar growled as endless reports poured across his command deck. How had they broken through the shields? His tactical officer stared hard at the readouts. High Commander, they employed kinetic weapons with no detectable energy trail. Our defenses collapsed for 47 seconds after the pulse from their colonies. Annihilation. Vexar's eyes locked on the tactical hologram. 3 of his warships crippled by nothing more than stones hurled at incredible speed. The humans had destroyed their own world to lay a trap, and it had succeeded flawlessly. All forces fall back to safe distance, Vexar commanded. We will not make this mistake again. Morrison watched the alien fleet pull away. Pride and dread, twisting inside him. They had bloodied the mighty Zephyrian alliance. 3 enemy vessels shattered, 1 dead in space. But he knew the cost would be unbearable. "Sir," Lieutenant Parker whispered, "incoming transmission from their flagship." Vexar's image flared onto Morrison's console. The alien's black eyes blazed with fury. "You have committed a grave mistake, humans," Vexar declared. "We offered you mercy. You answered with war. The High Council will hear of this. Retribution beyond comprehension is coming." The signal cut. Morrison scanned the tense faces around his bridge. Humanity had shown it could strike back, but had also guaranteed vengeance. Dr. Elena Vasquez, hidden in her covert post, captured the entire battle. Shield collapse, kinetic impacts, the alien withdrawal. Yet more vital, her scanners revealed something else during those 47 seconds. "Captain," she told Morrison, "I picked up additional signatures when their defenses went down. More ships are here, cloaked beyond our sight." Morrison's stomach tightened. The visible fleet was only a mask. Somewhere unseen, more predators lay waiting. Humanity had earned its first victory, but the true war had only begun. High Counselor Zathor entered human space at the head of a fleet that swallowed the stars. 2,000 warships followed his colossal flagship, supported by tens of thousands of auxiliary craft. This was no longer conquest. This was extermination. Vexar bowed before his master in humiliation. Losing 3 cruisers to such primitives had wounded more than the fleet. It wounded the Alliance's aura of supremacy. "Speak," Zathor rasped, voice grinding like stone. "How could a race barely stepping between stars destroy Alliance vessels?" "They sacrificed their colony to unleash an electromagnetic surge," Vexar admitted. "Our defenses collapsed for 47 seconds. They struck with crude projectiles. Zathor's armored limbs twisted in contempt. Crude projectiles, pebbles cast by children, and you allowed it to succeed. High Counselor, they defied every precedent. All. Other species have surrendered after a single taste of our power. The humans resisted." "Then we will teach them the cost," Thor decreed. "No more restraint. No more preservation. We will scour their worlds until nothing remains but ruin and memory." Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos tracked the vast armada closing. On New Geneva, through the colony's defense grid. New Geneva was humanity's crown jewel, home to 2 million civilians and the laboratories that forged their greatest technology. It was also the place Santos herself had been born 35 years ago. "Time to arrival?" she asked. 18 hours at current speed, answered Captain Ben Hughes. Our platforms are ready, but they won't last against that fleet. Santos grimaced. The defenses were built to repel raiders, not an alien war host. 12. Orbital cannons and 30 fighters would barely slow them. Yet Dr. Elena Vasquez had uncovered a breakthrough while studying captured Zephyrian drives on Earth. Colonel, her voice crackled over the secure link, deploy the quantum sensor grid. At once. Santos eyed the strange metallic spheres with crystalline veins, delivered on the last supply run. Vasquez's designs were based on alien systems, but their function was unclear. Doctor, we face 2,000 warships. How can a dozen devices help? Their faster-than-light drives emit unique resonance, Vasquez explained. These sensors can anticipate jump coordinates up to 3 days early. Dr. Tony Williams added, think of it like tracking a ship's wake, only in quantum space. Engineers rushed to deploy the network. 6 hours later, the array was live, streaming astonishing data back to Earth. It tracked not only the Armada, but hidden movements across all human space. General Patricia Wells, at military command, immediately saw the potential. For the first time, humanity held an intelligence edge. They could predict where the enemy would strike. All commanders, she ordered, new protocols are in effect. No direct fleet battles. Hit their logistics and comm relays. Captain Susan Clark received the directive while leading her squadron through the Martian belt. Their fighters had been upgraded, with the best stealth systems humans could field: cold engines, dampeners, and absorption hulls. Listen up, Clark told her pilots. We're not matching their guns. We're making them blind and starving them. Her squadron struck supply lines and relay hubs. Convoys vanished. Networks collapsed. Repair stations detonated from planted charges. The strategy exceeded all hopes. Alien lifelines withered, chaos spreading sector by sector. Yet Dr. Paul Mitchell uncovered something chilling while decoding Zephyrian data cores in his Geneva lab. He rushed to brief President Hamilton. They're not simply conquering us, Mitchell revealed. They're trying to harvest our creativity. He projected files onto the chamber's display. Records showed millennia of conquest, but little progress. The Zephyrian Empire had stagnated. No advances in 1,000 years. They steal from others but enslave them. And slaves don't innovate. Hamilton studied the grim evidence. Their conquest preserves the very minds they covet. Scientists, inventors, creators, exactly. But by resisting instead of surrendering, we've forced them into an extermination war they never intended. They require us alive, yet cannot admit it without appearing weak to their dominions. The consequences were immense. Humanity's defiance cornered the alliance. They could not let human rebellion succeed, for it might ignite uprisings among their subjects. But neither could they annihilate humanity completely, for they needed human creativity to solve crises their empire had failed to master for centuries. Across Alliance space, something extraordinary stirred. Conquered species watched the human stand with fascination. The Corfax, bound for 4 centuries, began quietly feeding intelligence to human forces. The aquatic Delians sabotaged supply convoys in their waters. Captain Jake Morrison received encrypted transmissions from a dozen species offering clandestine aid. The most astonishing came from Sub-Commander Valara, a Zephyrian officer disenchanted with the war. Human commander, her message read, among my people are those who doubt this course. Your kind has reminded us of something long buried, the worth of freedom over safety. Valara shared data on fleet movements and defenses. More critically, she disclosed the location of the Alliance's primary command hub and promised access, codes to its defense grid. Meanwhile, Dr. Vasquez achieved a final breakthrough while analyzing quantum sensor results. The cloaking technology that had masked hidden warships at Titan Colony carried a fatal imperfection. The cloaked craft produced quantum shadows that the right instruments could expose. General Wells, Vasquez reported, I can see their entire fleet. Over 5,000 ships occupy human space, not 2,000. And I know where every one of them is. For the first time in weeks, Wells allowed herself a smile. Doctor, you may have handed us the means to end this war. The decisive battle would not be fought solely with fleets or cannons. It would be waged within the digital domain, where hackers would infiltrate the Alliance's core network as the fleet engaged their warships. Victory demanded flawless timing, boundless courage, and the willingness to stake everything on a single desperate strike. Humanity had mastered forms of warfare the Alliance had never confronted. Now they would see if that ingenuity could defeat an empire that had dominated the stars. 6 months into the true war, both sides were bleeding. The Alliance had lost more ships than in an entire century of conquest. Vast graveyards of wreckage drifted across human space, remnants of battles that should have ended quickly. Humanity had sacrificed half its colonies and most of its navy. Yet across the galaxy, something extraordinary stirred. The Corfax Revolt began with one act of defiance. An engineer named Thievel destroyed an Alliance arms factory on his world, then broadcast a message. The humans proved chains can be broken. Alliance security executed him, but within days, uprisings flared on a dozen worlds. Commander Jake Morrison studied reports while his fractured fleet hid beside a dead star. The Delians had wrecked 3 supply bases. The insectoid wrecks were refusing labor in factories. Even Zephyrian units were suffering deliberate equipment failures. It's spreading, Morrison told his senior officers. This rebellion is growing beyond just humanity versus the Alliance. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared via secure comms from her hidden lab. The shadows beneath her eyes revealed months of sleepless work, decoding alien tech while evading hunter-killers. "Jake," she said, "I've cracked more of Valara's intelligence. The High Council is in emergency session. Rebellions are raging on 47 worlds. Their empire is fracturing." Morrison felt equal parts hope and weariness. Humanity's defiance had inspired many, but at a brutal price. Earth's great cities lay in ruins. Luna's orbital defenses had been destroyed weeks earlier. Billions lived in subterranean shelters, surfacing only when all clear signals proved the skies empty. Subcommander Valara sent her most vital transmission yet through coded relays. Coordinates of the Alliance's command nexus, its defenses, and access codes that could unlock its systems. "This is our chance," Morrison told General Patricia Wells during a secure call. "If we breach their network, we might end this war without annihilation." Wells studied the intel grimly. The Nexus sat on a fortified station deep in Alliance territory. To reach it, humanity's remnants would have to break through layer after layer of defense. "That's suicide," Wells warned. "We don't have the numbers." "Maybe we don't need brute force," Vasquez countered. "What if we infiltrate their network without ever reaching the station?" Dr. Tony Williams, speaking from Mars, added, "Elena's sensors have mapped their communications for months. We can exploit those resonance patterns to inject a virus directly into their core systems." Morrison gazed at the weary faces on his screens. Months of impossible struggle, and still they found new ways to fight. "What kind of virus?" he asked. Williams's smile was grim, not one that destroys. Something far worse for them, a truth virus. Over the next 72 hours, a plan emerged, bolder than anything humanity had attempted. Williams's team would forge a quantum-encrypted package containing the true history of the Alliance's expansion. Not the propaganda fed to subjects, but the hidden record of crushed uprisings, stolen inventions, and entire civilizations erased for daring to resist. More critically, it contained intelligence on humanity's defiance and the spreading revolts across Alliance space. Once unleashed into their network, it could not be stopped or contained. "Every conquered race will know what we know," Williams explained. "That the Alliance is not invincible, that rebellion is possible, that they are not alone." As scientists shaped the digital weapon, Morrison prepared the operation to deliver it. The virus required insertion during peak traffic when the Alliance command grid pulsed at full capacity. That meant striking their central hub directly. Captain Susan Clark offered her battered fighter wing. "We'll hit their perimeter hard enough to look like a real offensive," she said. "That will force emergency protocols and give you the opening." The battle began in cyberspace before weapons fired. Vasquez directed humanity's finest cyber specialists from secret bunkers, encoding months of intelligence into a package that could cascade across the network in minutes. "The virus is armed," she told Morrison. "But we have one chance only. If detected too early, they'll cut every line." Morrison gave the order. Clark's squadron surged from hiding across the outer system, diving against Alliance defenses. Outnumbered 50-1, they fought with reckless valor. As predicted, the enemy activated emergency communications when their lines broke. Data traffic peaked, reinforcements summoned, orders broadcast. At that instant, Williams deployed the quantum-coded payload. It raced through their systems faster than defenses could react, spreading to every military command, government center, and civilian hub. On conquered worlds, populations saw the truth for the first time. The illusion of benevolence shattered. They learned of species that had resisted. Most importantly, they realized their numbers dwarfed those of their conquerors. High Counselor Zathor watched his empire unravel. Revolts ignited on 300 worlds. Alliance legions fought fires on every front as entire species refused. "Servitude." "Sir," his aide cried, "we have an incoming transmission." Morrison's image appeared in the command hall, flanked by Admiral Rodriguez, General Wells, and President Hamilton. The human leaders looked worn but resolute. "High Counselor," Morrison began, "we offer terms." Zathor's limbs rippled with disbelief and fury. "You offer us terms? You are primitives before the Alliance's might." "No," Morrison answered evenly. "We are the species that showed your subjects freedom. Your empire is collapsing. Work with us to build something better, or watch everything burn." President Hamilton stepped forward. "We are not your enemies. We are your solution. For centuries, your empire stagnated because slaves do not innovate. Free peoples create." Admiral Rodriguez added, "Partner with us as equals, not subjects. Together, we can achieve more than either alone." The transmission ended, leaving Zor facing the unthinkable. The humans had done more than fight the Alliance. They had proven to every race that freedom was possible. Within a year, humanity and the reformed Alliance signed the first voluntary accords. Human ingenuity began solving crises that had crippled the empire for millennia, while alien mastery propelled human progress to unimaginable heights. Admiral Clark stood aboard the first joint construction starship, its windows forged from Diane crystal. Its drive combined Corfax mechanics with human fusion cores. In its halls, humans worked beside former foes, now friends. The war born of ultimatum ended in something no one foresaw: true cooperation. Humanity had not only secured freedom, they had given the galaxy a new vision of civilization among the stars.